Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel, thank you. Today is explanation of Martial Universe episode number 28 based on novel. So let's start. Just as nightfall enveloped the mountain range, the ground began to tremble. Meanwhile, a savage aura extended across the entire mountain range in an extremely domineering fashion, before it completely enshrouded most of the people here. Even though there were quite a number of people from Yang City, they were insignificant compared to the massive Thunder Granite mountain range. Therefore, when the ground trembled, several people's eyes were filled with fear when they discerned the distant blood-red eyes glimmering in the dark. This is the first time Lin Dong had encountered the demonic horde out in the open. Furthermore, based on its aura, Lin Dong knew that the demonic horde today is far more powerful than the one he encountered at the first assembly point. Therefore, due to that all-encompassing killing aura, even his expression turned increasingly solemn. Promptly, he gripped his palm, before his heavenly crocodile bone spear immediately appeared. As everyone watched on nervously, those densely packed blood-red eyes finally appeared within the illuminated radius of the flames. When they saw those icy-cold and hideous demonic beasts that emerged from the dark, several people's hearts shuddered. Man and beasts faced off, and it seems like the atmosphere in this area had frozen. However, this standoff did not last for long, before it was broken by a series of screams and growls, which sounded out one after another. These demonic beasts already knew about the humans' invasion. However, they were no ordinary demonic beasts and they possessed intelligence as well. Therefore, during the day, they chose to conceal themselves and wait for nightfall to arrive. That was because with the boost from moonlight, their claws could easily rip apart a human's flesh. That seemingly never-ending demonic horde began to rampage manically. Their targets were obviously the various campsites in the mountain range. Defend quickly. The demonic horde is here. Fearsome and piercing noises, as well as some panicked screams ricocheted across the mountain range. Following which, several formidable yuan power shockwaves erupted. Everyone knew how terrifying it was to defend against a demonic horde out in the open, however, they had no choice. Boom. As they faced such a massive demonic horde, some of the campsite located in front were almost instantaneously wiped out upon contact. Occasionally, some yuan power shockwaves that erupted will be swiftly extinguished after a painful cry. That sight caused several people's heart to shudder. Against such a massive never-ending demonic horde, even a half-step to Nirvana stage practitioner would feel fear. Nonetheless, though the demonic horde is huge, the people from Yang City are no pushovers. Furthermore, there are more and more campsite behind. Therefore, several streams of yuan power shockwaves seemingly formed into a 1,000-meter-tall glowing screen, before it directly clashed against that incoming demonic horde. Instantly, countless demonic beasts were blown apart. However, that exploding rain of blood agitated the remaining demonic beasts and they subsequently split into multiple factions, before they charged towards different campsites. Even without him commanding them, everyone in the campsite had already moved and caused the entire campsite to be flooded. Streams of potent yuan power was just like a glowing screen as it enveloped the entire campsite. Lin Dong's figure flashed before he directly appeared at the southern side of the campsite. With a solemn expression on their faces, Mo Ling and the rest quickly followed behind him. Furthermore, Lin Dong did not have much men under him. Therefore, Mo Ti and the rest also sent some of their men over. Else, if it were just the four of them, they may truly be unable to secure the southern side. Here they are. Just as Lin Dong reached the southern side, the demonic horde had arrived as well. Together with an overwhelming pressure, those hideous and bloody beasts viciously clashed against the campsite. Bang! Under the terrifying stares from the crowd, the demonic horde finally clashed against their campsite. Instantly, everyone's heart shuddered violently. Thankfully, their campsite did not collapse. Instead, several demonic beasts were instantly blown apart upon impact. Attack! Immediately, Mo Ti's deep growl sounded out. Following which, everyone immediately unleashed their attacks that they had been preparing. As such, all of them nearby demonic beasts were instantly slaughtered. However, this was hardly a significant blow to that never-ending demonic horde. Therefore, before the crowd had time to celebrate, they immediately saw an even large demonic wave swarming towards them. This was an extremely vicious battle. As they stared at the sea of blood-red eyes, everyone's breathing became increasingly ragged. Faintly, signs of insanity emerged. Bang! Bang! All sorts of martial arts were unleashed, before the combined formidable shockwind viciously blew away those hideous demonic beasts. The entire mountain range was dyed in blood, while screams continuously echoed out. It was no simple feat to defend against such a massive demonic horde out in the open at night. Lin Dong stared solemnly at the southern side of his campsite. As those reckless demonic beasts continued to charge at them, some of them were quickly injured. In a manner of speaking, based on their current lineup, it was truly a stretch for them to hold off the demonic horde. The ones who are injured take a short break, the rest will reinforce them. Everyone knew just how terrifying the demonic beasts were at night. However, Lin Dong was still able to dominate them in the midst of the demonic horde. This was a feat that even a half-step to Nirvana stage practitioner could not accomplish. When they detected the commotion, Mo Tii, Tang Xian and Liu Xian, who were fighting bitterly, turned to glance at Lin Dong. Immediately, their pupils shrunk. In particular, shock emerged in Tang Xian and Liu Xian's eyes. Right now, they finally believed the rumors of the fight between Lin Dong and Jin Mu. Lin Dong was deep within the demonic horde. As he waved his spear, countless demonic beasts immediately fell on his feet. Following which, his eyes turned to look at the back of the demonic horde. At that spot, he could sense an extremely savage vibration. He knew that was going to be the decisive factor in this fight. Boom! A crack suddenly appeared in the demonic horde. Just as several people heaved a sigh of relief, their faces promptly turned grim. That was because they saw several ancient Tyrannosaurus-looking demonic beasts slowly emerging from the dark. There was an extremely powerful vibration undulated on these demonic beasts. That vibration was enough to rival a half-step to Nirvana stage practitioner. Rip! Under the illumination of the fire, several people's face turned much paler. Each one of these demonic beasts is able to rival a half-step to Nirvana stage practitioner. At the moment, even Lin Dong's pupils violently shrunk. As he was too far away, he could not tell how many half-step to Nirvana stage demonic beasts were present. At the very least, based on the ones that he could see, he knew that they were powerful enough to rip apart all the campsites. At this moment, he finally understood why the demonic horde is considered as a catastrophe in the ancient battlefield. In front of such a massive force, even a genuine Nirvana stage practitioner did not dare to clash against it. An extremely sharp and piercing warning siren echoed out in the entire mountain range, and everyone felt as if their hearts were being squeezed by an invisible large hand. Boom! As that warning siren echoed out, those half-step to Nirvana stage demonic beasts released a series of deafening roars. Promptly, their speed increased before they spread themselves out and headed towards different campsites. When Lin Dong saw this sight, his eyes shrunk. He could see that there were a total of 4 half-step to Nirvana stage demonic beasts charging towards them. It seems like these fellow are pretty intelligent, and they detected that there were 4 tough opponents at their campsite: Tang Xian, Liu Xian, Lin Dong. The 4 of us will combine forces and each of us will take on 1 demonic beast. We must not let them overrun our campsite. When he saw those 4 half-step to Nirvana stage demonic beasts charging towards them, Mo Tii suddenly shouted. At this juncture, if their campsite was overrun, everyone within will be instantly swept away by the demonic horde. Furthermore, the only ones here who could fight against those 4 demonic beasts were the 4 of them. However, just as Mo Tii shouted, those 4 incoming half-step to Nirvana stage demonic beasts had already split up. Then, they each charged towards Mo Tii, and the rest respectively. That half-step to Nirvana stage demonic beast clenched its claws into a fist. Following which, with a formidable force that was powerful enough to obliterate mountains, it directly punched at Lin Dong. Faintly, one could discern some martial art moves contained in its attack. It seems like this demonic beast is fairly intelligent. In addition to its God-given strength, coupled with its martial art moves, it is able to propel its strength till a truly terrifying extent. However, as he faced that half-step to Nirvana stage demonic beast's powerful attack, Lin Dong's feet executed supreme purity sky wanderer steps before his body transformed into a wisp of green smoke and easily dodged that attack. Promptly, his expression turned icy cold. Then, the heavenly crocodile bone spear in his hand transformed into an extremely sharp spear shadow, before he lightning quick jabbed that demonic beast. That demonic beast had extremely powerful defenses, and even a half-step to Nirvana stage practitioner's attack could do little damage to it. However, the heavenly crocodile bone spear in Lin Dong's hand was no ordinary soul treasure. In fact, it was sharp enough to penetrate through a half-step to Nirvana stage practitioner's defenses. Therefore, when his spear brushed by, it directly left a deep and bloody wound on that demonic beast's body. Instantly, fresh blood spurted out. However, the intense pain did not cause the demonic beast to retreat. Instead, it got increasingly agitated as it viciously slammed its claws against the ground. Instantly, countless mud pillars shot out and viciously flew towards Lin Dong. Bang! 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 Lin Dong's body transformed into a wisp of green smoke, while several formidable spear shadows erupted from his hands and completely countered against those incoming mud pillars. Then, he jerked his spear, before he tangled with that demonic beast again, causing powerful shockwaves to continuously erupt forth. When they saw that Lin Dong could actually match up against that half-step to Nirvana stage demonic beast, everyone in the campsite heaved a sigh of relief. Right now, none of them dared to look down at him anymore. After all, the facts laid bare in front of them, and they finally believed that Lin Dong had the ability to match up to a half-step to Nirvana stage practitioner. Mo Tii and the Tang Xian duo were fairly concerned about his situation as well. After all, they were all on the same boat, and if Lin Dong's side was breached, they would be overrun by the demonic horde as well. Therefore, when they saw that Lin Dong had actually managed to stop the half-step to Nirvana stage demonic beast, they solemnly heaved a sigh of relief. Inside the campsite, several people stared in awe at Lin Dong, who was actually fighting against a half-step to Nirvana stage demonic beast. In fact, when they saw that Lin Dong did not lose out at all, the awe in their eyes intensified. After all, during nightfall, even Mo Tii and the rest could only hold down the demonic beast, and this was considered a fairly reputable result for them. Of course, this was not the result that Lin Dong desired. After fighting for so long against that half-step to Nirvana stage demonic beast, he naturally knew a bit about the latter's strength and weakness. Saint Elephant Sky crumbling tackle. Right now, after he was blown apart, a deep roar suddenly echoed out. Then, the crowd immediately saw a large glowing elephant suddenly appear. Following which, with a powerful shockwave that could destroy the world, it viciously slammed against that half-step to Nirvana stage demonic beast. Boom. The entire earth seemed to have trembled at that moment. Then, under the bewildered stares from the crowd, that large demonic beast's body flew out before it even squashed some unlucky demonic beasts along the way. The instant that demonic beast flew out, a figure once again flashed across the horizon before it appeared quickly in front of that demonic beast. Then, a sharp bone spear instantly swelled up, before it carried a sharp aura and pierced through that hideous demonic beast's scalp. A painful scream ricocheted across mid-air, and caused one's hair to stand. However, this scream not only attracted the attention from his campsite, but drew the attention of other campsites as well. Compared to before, when Lin Dong had killed a peak manifestation stage demonic beasts, the Nirvana Chi contained within this demonic crystal was practically on a different level. If he could obtain a few more of these, he should be able to rapidly reach the peak manifestation stage. Good stuff. A trace of delight flitted across Lin Dong's eyes. His hand tightened as devouring power gushed out, directly devouring the Nirvana Chi within the demonic crystal. As streams of Nirvana Chi flowed in his veins, Lin Dong immediately felt a burning sensation in his body. Meanwhile, the tiredness from the previous great battle vanished without a trace, and the Yuan power inside his body grew increasingly vigorous. Just this single half-step to Nirvana demonic beast's crystal was equivalent to several hundred Nirvana pills. After killing the demonic beasts, Lin Dong's figure moved, returning to the camp under the watch of several respectful gazes to once again defend the southern area, making sure the numerous demonic beasts would find it difficult to gain even a single inch. The disturbance due to Lin Dong's killing of the half-step to Nirvana demonic beasts was not small. Some of the surrounding camps also sensed it, and several people were somewhat stunned by this scene. After all, even the half-step to Nirvana stage practitioners on their side were still stuck in battle with the demonic beasts, while Lin Dong had already taken the lead and killed the demonic beasts with his advanced manifestation stage strength. This feat proved that he was not just a little better than them, he merely relied on the might of his soul treasure, or else, how could he possibly kill a half-step to Nirvana demonic beasts with that kind of strength? In the camp on the northern side, a figure coldly watched the returning Lin Dong while icily snorting. This person was Jin Mu. The soul treasure in that fellow's hand is pretty powerful. I believe that it can be considered as top tier among earthly soul treasures. Standing beside that man, a blue-robed Hai Sho smiled as he said. He eerily stared at Lin Dong, while greed flowed in his eyes. This is a pretty good opportunity. A vicious glint flitted across Jin Mu's eyes as he scanned his surroundings. They had a fairly powerful lineup, with 5 half-step to Nirvana stage practitioners plus other powerful practitioners as well. Therefore, they were hardly threatened by the demonic horde. Outside of their campsite, there were 5 half-step to Nirvana stage demonic beast. However, these 5 demonic beasts were held down by their men from the 5 empires, and could not step foot into their camp. Hai Sho, is there any way you can lure those 5 half-step to Nirvana stage demonic beasts to their side? Lin Dong is performing well, right? In that case, why don't we send a few more beasts over to him? A wicked smile emerged on Jin Mu's face, while his eyes were glimmering sinisterly. When he heard these words, Hai Sho gently furrowed his brows before he calmly said, I do have a way, however, as long as we can finish off that kid, I will let you study my Saint Light Empire's Saint Elephant Sky Crumbling Tackle. How about it? When he saw this situation, Jin Mu gently smiled as if he knew what Hai Sho was thinking about. I am fairly interested in that kid's soul treasure as well. Hai Sho gently smiled, it's all yours. Jin Mu calmly said, in that case, leave it to me. Killing 1 half-step to Nirvana stage demonic beasts is already his limit. To deal with 5, ha. Hai Sho laughed oddly, before his figure promptly flashed and directly leapt out of the campsite. When he was in mid-air, he waved his sleeves as a big puff of white dust emerged, enveloping the 5 half-step to Nirvana stage demonic beasts. In the campsite, when Mo Ling and the rest saw the 5 incoming half-step to Nirvana stage demonic beasts, their expressions changed drastically. All of them were keenly aware that based on their current strength, it was impossible for them to defend against such an attack. The campsite instantly descended into panic. Everyone's face was white as wax while despair filled their faces. Lin Dong stared grimly at that retreating Hai Sho. He knew that this must be Jin Mu's idea. That fellow is truly a cunning and persistent bastard. Mo Ling, guard the campsite. I will lure away these 5 demonic beasts. Lin Dong's eyes glimmered. Promptly, he waved his sleeves before Little Flame dashed out and transformed into battle mode. It looked extremely impressive. Little Flame, stay here as well. Lin Dong deeply growled. Without further ado, he grabbed outwards and directly sucked that white ball thrown by Hai Sho into his hand. That white ball continuously gave off a smell that agitated these demonic beasts. Right now, it had evidently spread out and enveloped their entire campsite. After he gripped the white ball, without hesitation, Lin Dong's figure moved. Under Mo Ti and the rest bewildered stares, he dashed out of the campsite and headed backwards. Action. The 5 half-step to Nirvana stage demonic beast were evidently extremely sensitive towards the smell. Their blood-red eyes were locked onto Lin Dong's body as all of them chased after him. Within the campsite and its surroundings, several people were staring at this scene. When they saw that Lin Dong had actually volunteered to lure away those 5 half-step to Nirvana stage demonic beast by himself, shock filled their eyes. Everyone knew that it was very difficult for anyone to survive a fight against those 5 half-step to Nirvana stage demonic beast alone, not to mention the overwhelming demonic horde that was also around. Hence, most people assumed that Lin Dong was going to die. Brother Lin Dong, don't worry. If anything happens to you, I will make sure Jin Mu and Hai Sho join you in hell. Mo Ti's body gently trembled as he stared at the figure that was disappearing deep into the demonic horde, while his expression turned extremely ugly. Lin Dong's actions caused even his heart to shudder. Right now, Tang Xian and Liu Xian's expression were extremely grim. As they glanced at Jin Mu's direction, a deep hatred filled their eyes. The ones who could come to the ancient battlefield were no pushovers. Therefore, Jin Mu's actions today definitely enraged them. Such a touching sight. In the distance, Jin Mu chuckled venomously when he saw this sight, while offhandedly remarking, I am afraid you won't even find that fellow's corpse. Such an ignorant brat. Who does he think he is? A Nirvana stage practitioner. Hai Sho chuckled sinisterly. Lin Dong was obviously digging his own grave. It's a pity his soul treasures and martial arts will be gone. It is all wasted on him. Jin Mu stretched his back, while his eyes glanced at the direction where Lin Dong had disappeared, before mumbling to himself, you are still too young to fight with me. It's a pity, you won't ever have that chance. 5 half-step to Nirvana stage demonic beasts. It is a pretty good haul. Lin Dong's eyes turned to glance at that 5 half-step to Nirvana stage demonic beasts that were approaching him. However, the words that he softly muttered were enough to shock several people to death. After all, even a half-step to Nirvana stage practitioner would die if he was being chased by those 5 powerful demonic beasts. Of course, there was a reason why Lin Dong was brimming with confidence. Right now, he could rely on his blood soul puppet that he had successfully subdued. He was not one to take outlandish risk, and the reasons why he volunteered to lure away those 5 half-stepped Nirvana stage demonic beasts was because he wanted to break the siege, and also because he wanted to obtain the demonic crystals inside these 5 half-stepped Nirvana stage demonic beasts. Lin Dong was currently at advanced manifestation stage. However, after training over these past few days, he had improved as well. Therefore, those demonic crystals filled with Nirvana Chi were precisely what he needed now. Since Jinmu and the rest delivered such a lavish gift to his doorstep, there was no reason for him to reject it. Growl. Just as this thought flashed across Lin Dong's mind, growls filled with a bloody stench suddenly echoed out from behind him. Following which, his figure flashed before he directly evaded a gooey and corrosive liquid. Then, his body hovered in mid-air while he stared at those 5 enraged half-stepped Nirvana demonic beasts. As they chased after him, the surrounding demonic horde had unknowingly dispersed and created an empty circle around him. Lin Dong glanced at those 5 demonic beasts before he took a glimpse at a distance behind him. This was quite far away from the battlefield and he no longer saw any other people. This was exactly the type of environment that Lin Dong needed. Blood Soul Puppet was a lethal weapon in his arsenal. However, he did not want to reveal its existence in front of the crowd. Therefore, he chose not to summon it immediately when Hai Shou lured the demonic beasts to his campsite. Instead, he decided to spend a considerable amount of effort in order to lure those demonic beasts far away. I am curious to find out just how powerful the Blood Soul Puppet is. Lin Dong's eyes burned fervently. Promptly, with a flick of his hand, a red flash shot out from within his palm, before it immediately transformed into a fiery red figure. Right now, the Blood Soul Puppet was no longer filled with a shocking potent killing aura. At the same time, its blood-red body, which sent chills down one's spine, had changed into a fiery red color. Meanwhile, there was a liquid flowing beneath its skin and it looked quite peculiar. Even though there was a change in its appearance, when that Blood Soul Puppet appeared, it still carried an extremely formidable shockwave. This shockwave faintly appeared and when Lin Dong sensed that shockwave, even he involuntarily swallowed his tongue. After all, he understood that based on his current strength, if he fought against the Blood Soul Puppet, he would probably be defeated in less than 10 bouts. Action, when that Blood Soul Puppet appeared, it was as if the 5 half-stepped Nirvana stage demonic beasts detected danger, as a tinge of uncertainty and fear flashed across their agitated blood-red eyes. Right now, their speed was definitely incomparable to the Blood Soul Puppet. Therefore, in the blink of an eye, that Blood Soul Puppet appeared in front of those 5 demonic beasts. As it waved its bloody fists, an indescribable force emerged in mid-air, before it viciously slammed against a demonic beast. Bang! A bloody mist erupted from that demonic beast's body. Then, Lin Dong was shocked to see that large demonic beasts being blown in half by that Blood Soul Puppet's punch, before it fell on the ground with a loud thud. An instant kill with one punch alone. Rip! At this moment, even Lin Dong involuntarily sucked in a breath of cold air. After all, in order for him to handle a half-stepped Nirvana stage demonic beast, he must utilize powerful martial arts and use his lethal heavenly bone crocodile spear in order to kill it. However, right now, the Blood Soul Puppet was able to blast that powerful demonic beast apart with a single punch. Growl. The 4 remaining demonic beasts were enraged by the Blood Soul Puppet. Immediately, the red hue in their eyes intensified. Meanwhile, a shockwave that was powerful enough to obliterate mountains rained down on that Blood Soul Puppet. Bang! 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 Since the Blood Soul Puppet was able to rival a Nirvana stage practitioner, the 4 demonic beasts' combined counterattack could do little against it. In merely a dozen bouts, under Lin Dong's bewildered stares, those 4 half-stepped Nirvana stage demonic beasts were completely blown apart. A bloody mist spread out, and all the surrounding demonic beasts were so stunned by this sight that they no longer dared to charge forth. So powerful. The shock in Lin Dong's eyes quickly vanished before it was replaced with delight. Then, he waved his palm, before the 5 demonic crystals inside the 5 half-stepped Nirvana stage demonic beasts all landed up in Lin Dong's hand. Once the demonic crystals reached his hand, Lin Dong activated his devouring force before he unceremoniously devoured them. Instant, rich streams of Nirvana Chi gushed out before it coursed through Lin Dong's body and caused the Yuan Chi in his Dantian to strengthen. At this rate, I should be able to reach peak manifestation stage soon. Lin Dong muttered to himself when he sensed the Yuan power flowing in his Dantian, as well as the burning sensation in his body. These 5 demonic crystals are practically equivalent to several thousand Nirvana pills. Therefore, by swallowing them in one gulp, it was naturally extremely beneficial for him. There should be other half-stepped Nirvana stage demonic beasts within the demonic horde. Since you have already came out, you should make use of this opportunity to finish them off. I believe it will help you to break through to peak manifestation stage. Little Martin appeared at this moment. After it glanced at the stationary blood soul puppet hovering in mid-air, it spoke with a smile. That is exactly my plan. The demonic horde in Thunder Granite Mountain Range is extremely massive. Therefore, as he traveled, little Martin helped him as well and gave off an aura which enveloped Lin Dong. This helped to prevent other demonic beasts from attacking him. Thanks to its protection, in the following time, Lin Dong could dedicate all his efforts on finding half-step to Nirvana stage demonic beasts. Therefore, he had a pretty good harvest. Thanks to the presence of the demonic horde, in merely 3 hours' time, he had found a total of 20 half-step to Nirvana demonic beasts. These demonic beasts were spread out across the demonic horde, and they did not travel deep into the ancient battlefield. This turned out to be helpful for Lin Dong. Thanks to the powerful might of his blood soul puppet, these half-step to Nirvana stage demonic beasts, which many people were wary of, were all completely reduced into demonic crystals after a meaningless struggle, before they landed into Lin Dong's hands. As a fearsome battle took place between man and beast, no one expected that there would be a phantom-like figure freely roaming around, before he completely picked off all the powerful half-step to Nirvana stage demonic beasts, just like he was harvesting wheat. The massive battle raged on in the middle of the mountain range, and the fearsome battle finally showed signs of ending only when nightfall gradually faded. Lin Dong sat quietly on top of a large tree in the middle of the forest. As he lowered his head and turned to look at that retreating demonic horde, a smile emerged on his face. Then, he flipped his palm, before 20 palm-sized fiery red demonic crystals hovered in front of him. When this large number of demonic crystals appeared together, a rich Nirvana chi instantly emerged and caused Lin Dong's eyes to burn fervently. With these demonic crystals, his strength would surge once again. The amount of Nirvana chi within a half-step to Nirvana stage demonic crystal was equivalent to several hundred Nirvana pills. Therefore, the amount of Nirvana chi contained within these 20 demonic crystals reached a truly terrifying extent. Everyone in the ancient battlefield knew the importance of Nirvana chi. Therefore, everyone coveted these demonic crystals which contained potent Nirvana chi. However, though they coveted it, not everyone had a blood soul puppet as an helper. Therefore, if they wanted to handle a half-step to Nirvana stage demonic beast, even if they were at the same cultivation level, it would be no easy feat to kill them, not to mention, killing 20 of them in several hours like what Lin Dong did. If news of this matter got out, everyone would probably be shocked out of their wits. Lin Dong gently gripped his hands, before a black hole emerged from his palms and completely enveloped those 20 demonic crystals. Instantly, a devouring force gushed forth, just like a tidal wave. Just as the devouring force enveloped these demonic crystals, the Nirvana chi within these demonic crystals was quickly refined before they transformed into a fiery stream of energy, and continuously gushed into Lin Dong's body. Streams of potent Nirvana chi coursed through Lin Dong's entire body, just like tidal waves. At the same time, a soft and crisp noise actually sounded out. This was the first time since Lin Dong entered the ancient battle that he got to enjoy such a potent Nirvana chi. Even though he had 10 of thousands of Nirvana pills, he did not use them to master lesser Nirvana golden body, but instead used them to refine his blood soul puppet. Therefore, it had little impact on his yuan power cultivation. That black hole slowly swirled and the devouring force was just like a millstone as it slowly refined the demonic crystals within. Then, it completely devoured all the Nirvana chi contained within. Right now, this clearly showcased the power of the ancestral devouring symbol. If it was an ordinary individual, it would take quite a long time in order for him to absorb a single demonic crystal. However, Lin Dong was able to shorten the process by several times. Streams of potent Nirvana chi continuously gushed out from the black hole before they flowed into Lin Dong's body. Meanwhile, the aura undulated on his body gradually became more powerful. Peak manifestation stage. Relying on these 26 demonic crystals that he had obtained tonight, Lin Dong's strength had surged again, and he had advanced to peak manifestation stage. Furthermore, the peculiar golden flow flowing beneath Lin Dong's skin had intensified. Evidently, those 26 half-step to Nirvana stage demonic crystal not only allowed his strength to surge, but they also improved his lesser Nirvana golden body. As he felt the surging yuan power inside his body, a gentle smile emerged on Lin Dong's face. However, he promptly furrowed his brows. As his strength surged, the distance away from Nirvana stage had narrowed down. However, he still lacked the required amount of Nirvana pills. For this trip to Thunder Granite Valley, let's hope that I will reap a bountiful harvest. Lin Dong muttered himself, before he stood up and cast his eyes towards the distant horizon. Promptly, a venomous glint flashed across his eyes. Once he returned, he must finish off Jin Mu. He was no kind-hearted Buddha, and he knew that there was only one way to deal with a person like him. Kill. A killing aura flashed across Lin Dong's face. Promptly, his figure flashed before he leapt out of the lush woodlands. Just as he was about to head back, his expression suddenly changed before he turned to look at a distant mountain peak. Did you sense it as well? Lin Dong stared at that blurry mountain peak that was obscured by nightfall, before he softly turned to little Martin and said. Little Martin's eyes narrowed as it stared at that mountain peak. Promptly, a dark purple glow suddenly shot out from its eyes. Those dark purple glows stealthily flashed across the night sky. Moments later, they returned. However, this time around, they actually formed into a glowing screen in front of Lin Dong. Action reflected on the glowing screen was a clear image of the mountain peak. When he saw little Martin's trick, Lin Dong was stunned as well. Promptly, his eyes were locked on that glowing screen. That was because he actually saw several figures seated quietly on top of that mountain peak. Those men sat quietly on top of the mountain peak, and they did not give off any traces of noise or vibration. From their bodies, Lin Dong could sense a fairly formidable aura. In fact, it seems there was at least a dozen half-stepped to Nirvana stage practitioners. Just as Lin Dong disappeared, at a distant mountain peak, a man dressed in black, who sat on a large green rock suddenly opened his eyes. His calm yet sharp eyes stared at the spot where Lin Dong had disappeared, before he gently furrowed his brows. Promptly, he muttered to himself, "Am I mistaken, Big Senior? The demonic horde has retreated and the troops from Yang City have suffered quite severe casualties. Ha ha, they have spared us a lot of trouble by helping us handle the demonic horde." Just as that man dressed in black opened his eyes, behind him, another man spoke respectfully, "Yes, though they are many men from Yang City, they are fighting for their own sake. Therefore, they hardly amount to anything. This time around, our real opponents are not them." That man dressed in black gently nodded his head before he calmly said, "Send my word down, when the sun rises, we must make haste. Before nightfall, we must arrive at Thunder Granite Valley." Yes. Deep inside the mountain range, a vast plain was in tatters, while fresh blood dyed the ground red. Meanwhile, countless demonic beast corpses piled up, while some human corpses were littered around as well. This demonic horde caused the men from Yang City to suffer severe casualties. Nonetheless, they were still thankful that they managed to survive. On the tattered ground, the remaining men began to reorganize themselves. For a while, this area was fairly chaotic. "Jin Mu, Hai Sho, you two bastards get out now." Amidst that chaotic environment, an enraged roar suddenly sounded out. Then, several pairs of eyes turned to look, only to see Mo Tii and the rest charging angrily towards Jin Mu's campsite. Most people understood why Mo Tii was angry. After all, anyone who got backstabbed would naturally feel outraged. Mo Tii, Tang Xian and the rest were grim as they stood outside of Jin Mu's campsite. Meanwhile, they could barely hide the rage in their eyes. "Ha ha, what about it? After these few days, don't tell me you regard that kid as your bosom friend. That doesn't fit your reputation, Mo Tii." Jin Mu stared at a grim Mo Tii while he casually chuckled. "This old man may not be a kind-hearted man, however I understand the meaning of gratitude and revenge. Since this old man has promised Lin Dong, if anything happens to him tonight, I will make you join him in the afterlife." Mo Tii's tone was extremely venomous, and he looked just like he was about to devour him. "It seems like Jin Mu's actions have truly pissed him off, with just the three of you." Jin Mu smirked, while a disdainful look was plastered on his face. After all, there were 5 half-stepped to Nirvana stage practitioners on their side, while there were only 3 on Mo Tii's side. "Mo Tii, on account of the fact that we know one another, let me advise you. Even if that guy is dead, let it go. After all, it doesn't affect the both of us. However, if you continue to press this matter, don't blame me for being a cruel man." When he heard Jin Mu's words, Mo Tii's expression turned cold immediately. "It seems like you are truly hoping that I would be killed by those demonic beasts. Why? Are you afraid I will come back for revenge?" Just as Mo Tii was unable to suppress the killing intent in his heart, a soft chuckle sounded out from a distance away. Then, under the bewildered stares of the crowd, a figure flashed by, before it appeared beside Mo Tii and the rest. When they saw that figure suddenly appear, the chaotic domain instantly quieted down. From their expressions, it was as if they had just saw a ghost. This video will end here. Thank you for watching.